Today on Newlygreens, we're beginning the process of improving our home's efficiency with an energy audit.
So far, we've identified some typical safety issues that come along with older homes, but now it's time to find out where we're really wasting energy and the resources available to fix those problems.
Tell me about some of the things you're experiencing here.
Okay.
Hot spots, cold spots, or
Well, you know, in the
uncomfortable?
winter when it's cold, I just feel like, we just always feel drafty in this house. I try to keep the heat turned rather low. I don't, 68 or so during the day. And it just, everything feels cold. I think there's drafts around the window frames even, I'm feeling. And of course, we always put the storm windows down.
Well, we do recommend if people do use their fireplaces, because they are gorgeous and
Yeah.
there's nothing like a roaring fire.
Oh,
If people do want to use them, a fireplace insert is a unit which goes into the firebox. It's vented up the chimney and out, so it uses outside air for combustion. So instead of drawing all the conditioned air out of the house and up the chimney, you're taking outside air. And typically it's a closed unit, and around the perimeter it's got blowers, so you can bring in heat. You can even have them thermostatically controlled.
Wow.
So they become an energy positive as opposed to an energy drain.
It's common for audits to identify past improvements that may have had the right idea, but were executed poorly. Like in this case, where a fireplace flue was supposedly closed up.
You can actually see around the perimeters, it's wide open.
Oh yeah.
You can see all the way back here. So even though it's
Yeah.
closed here, this gap right here is allowing all this air.
So
to
no
go
wonder
up
it's
and out.
always cold in here.
I don't know if I explained before, air movement is probably your biggest source of energy loss in a home like this. These homes were meant to breathe. Back then you were heating with coal or oil. You had gas lamps, kerosene lamps. So if the house was tight, people would have died from carbon monoxide poisoning.
Yeah. Oh, that's the reason. Okay.
The Victorians
That's
called it
interesting.
bad air. They didn't know what it was, but typically the windows would be left open at night. A lot of the radiators are located under the windows, and they would oversize the heating system. Bad air was actually, in retrospect, most likely carbon monoxide poisoning.
Interesting.
Because right now you're very fortunate. The state and federal governments both have incentive programs to help homeowners improve the efficiency of their homes. They realize that in New Jersey, they have what's called the Global Warming Response Act. And that's a law that's put into place by Governor Corzine that mandates that the state has to reduce greenhouse gases by 20% by the year 2020. Now at the same time, they also realize it's a recession, they can't force people to spend money. So what they're doing is putting in place economic incentives to help people make improvements now as opposed to putting them off indefinitely. In addition, with the federal government, with the recovery, with the stimulus package, they have federal dollars available for energy efficiency. So for example, with this house, to insulate this house, upgrade the heating, cooling, or upgrade the windows, or whatever projects that we decide are going to make the most sense, if we do enough improvements to reach a 25% reduction in energy use, the state will pay for 50% of those improvements, up to $20,000.
Wow, up to 20.
Up to $20,000, which is astounding. I believe it's the best in the country, and it's making it easy for customers to do projects that typically they would put off a few years or not do at all.
It makes it the time to do it. There's no doubt about that.
You may have heard a lot of talk recently about creating a federal Cash for Caulkers program. This is a way to put Americans back to work, sealing up our old inefficient buildings. Now, thankfully in New Jersey, we've had a program like that for some time. It's been called the Home Performance with Energy Star program. Now, that's what we've been able to take advantage of to make the improvements to our home. We'll have all the details of what we've done at newlygreens.com.
For as long as it continues, the audit process begins by calling a state-certified auditor. Fees range from as low as $150 state allowance up to $600 or more. It largely depends on the size of the home and contractor availability, but prices do vary, so you'll want to get a few quotes.
And regardless of who you choose, every auditor is going to give you a baseline of the energy consumption of your home. Now, something that we liked about the guys from Green Living Solutions was that they went beyond this baseline and they made recommendations about the general sustainability of your home.
You see the hinges? These are beautiful Victorian hinges.
Yeah.
They can be taken off, stripped down.
And it's so beautiful when they're stripped and they're polished and all. They're gorgeous.
It's gorgeous. It's also sustainable because we didn't have to go out and buy new materials. Water usage has become much more of a concern of late. With the old fixtures, typically they use 3, 4, 5 times as much water. And if you take a look here, Greg, you can see the velocity of water that can come out through even such a small and unsuspecting sink. And that's just touching, it's not even full velocity. Okay, the newer faucets, you can get low flow spigots, fixtures, or aerators. Take a look at this, Greg. It's an old style toilet, which has a capacity for about 5 gallons per flush. But if you look inside, they updated it with newer hardware, so it's only filled up less than halfway. But it's important with homes like this to put aside a budget every year. Typically, in this area, what I advise people is on a home this age, probably about $2 per square foot per year. And that'll go towards repairing those pipes, asbestos removal, roofs, painting. There's always some projects to do. So even if 1 or 2 years you skip it, have the money budgeted, because 3, 4 years down the road, it adds up, and then you get hit with $20,000 projects, and it gets a little bit overwhelming. And that's why a lot of the older homes fall into disrepair, because it can get overwhelming in a hurry.
Hey everyone, just want to thank you one more time for watching Newlygreens, and please send any questions or comments that you have to info@newlygreens.com. And a final reminder that we stream our radio show live every Thursday from 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And you can catch that at wpradio887.org. Thanks so much. Take care.